Hey YouTube, this is Primetime Pokemon. In this video, I'll be reviewing and then giving away the Mach Strike theme deck. This is the second theme deck review that I've done on my channel. Both theme decks are part of the Ultra Prism set. The first theme deck featured Empoleon, and it was a very good theme deck. This theme deck is based around Garchomp. Now these theme decks are normally $12.99 in stores. So majority of this video I'll be going through each and every card in this theme deck. At the end of the video I'll state the rules to entry for this giveaway. So this theme deck, it says on the back of the box, it says a dragon type Pokemon knows that how you begin a battle determines how you end it. So call on Garchomp and Lucario and go for the big attack with powerful hits at top speed. The Mach Strike theme deck pulls no punches. So the theme deck is all opened up. I can show everything on the inside. Here is the theme deck box. It holds all 60 cards for the theme deck. Every single theme deck, like the Mach Strike theme deck, have the exact same cards. Here's a look at the 2-player playmat and rule sheet. The damage counters, GX marker, burn and poison markers. The Pokemon coin, which is Garchomp. The Ultra Prism set checklist, and then the online TCG code card. You can always add me on the online game, Primetime Pokemon. That code unlocks the entire deck. So before I get into each and every one of these cards, I can show the deck checklist on the screen. Now, one thing to note with this deck, theme decks are not very good for competitive purposes. You never want to take a theme deck to the standard format. You'll lose right away. But as far as theme decks go, and if you play the theme deck format on the online TCG, this deck is very good. Now, both Empoleon and this Garchomp are seen in competitive decks quite a bit. Now I'll go through each and every one of the Pokemon, but Garchomp Lucario is a popular deck out there. The two work in tandem very well. One card allows you to draw cards into your hand, and then the other does major damage. Now if you are into the competitive TCG and are not a fan of theme decks, this theme deck is noteworthy mainly because it does include two Cynthia, which is one of the best trainer cards in the TCG nowadays. As you can see, there are 20 fighting energy cards in this deck, which is too many, and 24 Pokemon. You're going to want to decrease both of those amounts and put more trainer cards. I believe there are only 16 trainer cards in this deck. Most competitive decks out there see something around 30. So I can get into the Pokemon now. 24 total Pokemon in this theme deck. I'll start off with the main evolution line, Gible, Gabite, and Garchomp. There is a 3-2-2 line of this family. So 3 copies of this Gible are used. This is a dragon type Pokemon. Of course, right now there are not any basic dragon type energy cards out there. Fighting energy is what this card needs to attack. Ascension is the only move on this card. It says, search your deck for a card that evolves from this Pokemon and put it onto this Pokemon to evolve it. Then shuffle your deck. So this is very useful. You can right away get Gabite onto this card. Now a lot of times you'll see Gible evolve directly into Garchomp with a rare candy. Next up would be Gabite. 2 Gabite in this theme deck. 2 moves on the card. Now both Gible and Gabite have below average HP. Ascension and Slash are the 2 moves on this card. Ascension for 1 fighting energy says the following. Search your deck for a card that evolves from this Pokemon and put it onto this Pokemon to evolve it. Then shuffle your deck. So if you aren't using rare candy, you can then attack with Gible and then attack with Gabite to evolve directly into Garchomp. Now there are a lot of decks out there that can one-hit knock out pretty much any Pokemon out there, so this isn't the best strategy. But if you are forced to put this line into the active Pokemon spot, you can get to Garchomp fairly quickly. Then Slash for 2 colorless energy or 1 double colorless energy does 40 damage. So ideally you're trying to set this lineup on the bench just because neither of these 2 Pokemon are that great. And then Garchomp is the main Pokemon in this theme deck. 150 HP, which isn't the highest, but this card does have 2 moves. And it also has a free retreat cost, which is very good. You don't have to use something like Guzma or put a float stone on it or anything like that. You can just retreat it for free. It says, For Quick Dive, its first move that requires 2 colorless energy, or 1 double colorless, it says, this attack does 50 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. And then Royal Blaze is the main move on this card and can do major damage. For 3 energy cards, or if you modify this theme deck, 1 fighting energy and then 1 double colorless, it does 100 damage, plus if you play Cynthia from your hand during this turn, this attack does 100 more damage. So it can do at least 200 damage every turn if you play Cynthia. So you're of course going to want to use 4 Cynthia in a deck that includes this Garchomp. And then you're going to want to have Floatstone or Guzma or something that you can use to quickly put Garchomp in the active Pokemon spot when you're using Cynthia to maximize the amount of damage that Royal Blaze is able to do each and every turn. Now I have read with competitive decks out there, I believe there's a Garchomp in the Breakpoint set you're probably going to want to use, mainly because in competitive decks you're going to be using a double colorless energy on Royal Blades, and I believe it is the Enhanced Hammer that allows an opponent to discard a special energy attached to one of your Pokemon so they can continuously discard that special energy you're trying to use with Royal Blades. But a powerful Pokemon there. I would say between the two decks, I think I like the Empoleon deck just a little bit better. It is safer to attack and can consistently do more damage. With this theme deck, you're really waiting on Cynthia to be able to do major damage every turn. Plus, I believe Empoleon does have 10 more HP, which can make a difference. The second evolution line in this theme deck would be Riolu and Lucario. There is a 3-1 line of this family. In a more competitive deck, you're probably going to want to use something like a 2-2, but this card used with Garchomp is very good. Riolu to start here, and it does have an above average HP, 2 moves on it. Detect and Jab both require 1 energy. Detect says flip a coin if heads, prevent all effects of attacks, including damage, done to this Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. And then Jab for 1 fighting energy does 10 damage. So if you are forced to put this card into the active Pokemon to start, I would actually use Detect first just because it will give you more time to set up your bench Pokemon. That is if you flip a heads when flipping a coin. And then Lucario, this is normally a rare holo from the Ultra Prism set. Only 1 copy of this card in the theme deck, and it is very good for its ability. Precognitive Aura. It says, once during your turn, if you have Garchomp in play, you may search your deck for a card and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So that is a pretty amazing ability. It is even better than the combination of Malo and Zoroark GX just because you can go ahead and find any card you want. Now it may take a little while to get Garchomp set up on your bench, but once set up, this ability is pretty amazing. And then Missile Jab for 2 energy cards does 70 damage. That's a solid move, but again, you want to use this card mainly for its ability. And if you're using Garchomp in your deck, definitely use Lucario and vice versa. Next up would be a 2-1 line of Hippopotas and Hippowdon. Hippopotas, 90 HP, it's an above average HP, but it does have 1 slow attack plus a high retreat cost. 11th Hour Tackle is its only move. It does 50 damage, plus if there are 3 or fewer cards in your deck, this attack does 130 more damage. So that does do 180 damage per turn, but unless you're just lucky enough to get this card into your hand towards the end of the game and then somehow get 3 energy cards on it, it is going to be very hard to use this card with only 3 or fewer cards left in your deck. And knowing the competitive format out there now, you may only have 3 cards left in your deck, then you may be forced to discard the cards from your deck, and then you'll end up losing the game. So I would say it's hard to use this Hippopotas card just because the situation required to do 180 damage is difficult to come by. Plus, if you have Hippopotas out in the active Pokemon area, it's going to get knocked out fairly quickly with only 90 HP. But it is an intriguing card, similar to how it's intriguing Missing Clover from the Ultra Prism set. It allows you to take a prize card if you have 4 of those cards and you're able to use those at once. Very intriguing there. I just don't think it'll ever be used that much. And then Hippowdon. This is a stage 1 card. Similar to Hippopotas, it has a high HP and a high retreat cost. 2 moves on this card, Sand Tomb and Dust Cannon. Sand Tomb does 50 damage for 3 energy cards, and then Dust Cannon does 100 damage, plus this attack does 10 more damage for each colorless energy in your opponent's active Pokemon's retreat cost. So it could potentially do 120, 130 damage, which is a good amount. But unless you're using double colorless energy in your deck, you really don't want to have to put 4 energy cards on one Pokemon, because you could face something like Gardevoir GX that takes advantage of a Pokemon that has a lot of energy on it, and it will knock out Hippowdon pretty easily. A colorless type Pokemon line is up next, Yungoos and Gumshoos. A 3-2 line is used, and Yungoos 70 HP, 2 moves on it, Scout and Takedown. Now with colorless type Pokemon, fighting type Pokemon decks are very popular right now. Buzzwole GX, Lycanroc GX, so it is weak to those decks out there. Scout for 1 colorless energy, it makes your opponent reveal their hand, and then Takedown does 30 damage for 1 double colorless energy. However, it does do 10 damage to itself. So Scout may be useful, but if your opponent doesn't get any basic Pokemon in their hand to start the game, they would have to take a mulligan, then you get to see their hand anyways. So this card, in my opinion, isn't that great. And then Gumshoos, 110 HP for a stage 1, which is solid. 2 moves on it, Identify and Whap Down. Identify says for 2 colorless energy cards, it does 20 damage, plus your opponent reveals their hand. If you find a Pokemon there, this attack does 80 more damage. So if you're using this card in combination with N, for example, it could help this move do 100 damage, which isn't bad. And then Whap Down for 3 colorless energy does 70 damage. I like Identify a little bit more. And I would say Gumshoos makes up for the disappointing card I would say Yungoos is. Solrock is next. There are 2 Solrock in this deck. This is from the Burning Shadow set. 90 HP for Solrock, 2 moves. Double Draw, which allows you to draw 2 cards for only 1 colorless energy. Of course, I'd much rather use Lucario's ability to get cards into my hand. And then Solar Heat for 1 fighting energy does 20 damage, plus if there's a Stadium card in play, this attack does 20 more damage. Now you could always use something like Brooklet Hill, which allows you to put a basic fighting type Pokemon onto your bench. That way you could do 40 damage for only 1 energy card. 2 Pokemon left here to discuss. First would be Spiritomb. There are 2 Spiritomb in this deck. This is a Psychic type Pokemon, 70 HP, 2 moves that both require colorless energy. Lightless World allows you to put 2 supporter cards from your discard pile into your hand, and then Terrify does 10 damage, and it says if the defending Pokemon is a basic Pokemon, it can attack during your opponent's next turn. Now lots of GX and EX cards are basic Pokemon out there, so that can really do a good number on your opponent. I do like that. A lot of cards in this deck can attack for little energy. And then the final Pokemon here would be Type Null. This is a basic Pokemon, just 1 Type Null. Silvally GX, which is in both Crimson Invasion and Ultra Prism, is a very good GX card. Its ability allows basic Pokemon to retreat for free. 110 HP on this card. 2 moves that both require colorless energy. Merciless Strike does 30 damage for 2 energy cards, and it says if your opponent's active Pokemon already has any damage counters on it, this attack does 30 more damage. And then Headbang for 3 colorless energy does 70 damage. So ideally I would modify this deck to include Silvally GX, and I would include lots of double colorless energy because a lot of cards in this deck require colorless energy to attack. Now as far as the Pokemon go, I really like that this theme deck includes both Garchomp and Lucario. Some of the other Pokemon really aren't that great. I would say overall I like the Empoleon theme deck, the Imperial Command theme deck better as far as Pokemon go. I do like the idea that the Pokemon card company put 2 good cards that belong together in this theme deck in Lucario and Garchomp. I really like the ability on Lucario that can really speed up things in battle for a player. Next up, I'll talk about the trainer cards. And like I mentioned, there are only 16 trainer cards in this deck. I'll go through the supporter cards first. Now, a very good supporter would be Cynthia. There are 2 Cynthia. I would definitely try and use 4 just so the Garchomp can do 200 damage a turn more often. It's a shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw 6 cards. And of course, supporter cards, you only can use 1 per turn. And this card is a little bit better than N or Professor Sycamore in that it reshuffles your hand into your deck and only affects your hand, not your opponent's. 2 copies of Cynthia. How is next. This is another card that allows you to draw cards. 2 copies of this card allows you to draw 3 cards. Looker. This one allows you to draw 3 cards from the bottom of your deck, so very similar to How. And Looker, there's just the 1 copy in this deck. Professor Kukui is another supporter that allows you to draw cards. And Professor Kukui, there is 2 of in this deck. It says draw 2 cards. During this turn, your Pokemon's attacks do 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So I was going to say you could use Professor Kukui with Garchomp, but unfortunately, since you only can use 1 supporter card per turn, the most that Garchomp can do without something like a Choice Band would be 200 damage per turn. But that is it for the supporter cards. I'll go to the item cards now. So first up for the item cards would be Big Malasada, 1 copy of this card. It says heal 20 damage and remove a special condition from your active Pokemon. Now as far as healing type cards, I really recommend Acerola and Max Potion. Not a huge fan of cards like this, but it does do 2 things at once, which is very important. And cards like Garchomp and even Lucario could use this card. It'll help it quite a bit, lasts more than 1 turn being attacked. Escape Board is next, just the 1 Escape Board. This is a tool card. You attach it to a Pokemon and it says the retreat cost of the Pokemon this card's attached to is 1 colorless energy less, and it can retreat even if it's asleep or paralyzed. So I like the second aspect of the description there. Of course, you can use something like Floatstone or a Guzma to also retreat Pokemon. Escape Rope is a simplified version of Guzma, and Escape Rope there's just 1 copy of. It says each player switches their active Pokemon with one of their bench Pokemon. Your opponent switches first. So that way you can see what Pokemon they put into play and then figure out what Pokemon to put into your active Pokemon spot, maybe to attack with something that defending Pokemon is weak to. Nest Ball is next, and there are 2 Nest Ball trainers. It says search your deck for a basic Pokemon and put it onto your bench. Then shuffle your deck. I would rather use either something like a Bridget, a Pokemon Fan Club, or even an Ultra Ball instead of this card. But it's always helpful to get additional Pokemon on your bench. Pal Pad is next, just the 1 Pal Pad. It says shuffle 2 supporter cards from your discard pile into your deck. Order Pad from Ultra Prism is also a trainer card to consider. Rescue Stretcher is next. Now Pal Pad, there's just the 1 of, same goes for Rescue Stretcher. Now if you were using something like Professor Sycamore in this deck, or an Ultra Ball, this card would make more sense, but it says to choose one of the following. Either put a Pokemon from your discard pile into your hand, or shuffle 3 Pokemon from your discard pile into your deck. So that way if a Pokemon you want is knocked out, or if you're discarding something like Garchomp, you can easily get to Garchomp with Rescue Stretcher. And then the final item here would be Timer Ball, 2 Timer Balls. In this theme deck it says, flip 2 coins, for each head, search your deck for an evolution Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. Ultra Ball is a card I'd rather use instead of this, but if you're trying to get Garchomp out there, Gumshoe, Hippowdon, Lucario, that type of thing, this card is very useful. So this deck does have similar trainers to the Imperial Command deck. Like I mentioned, this deck may even be worth purchasing just because of the Cynthia trainer. Right now online, I believe they're going for anywhere between about $3 and $6 per card. So just having the 2 Cynthia almost pays for this theme deck. Now I can show the energy cards. 20 total fighting energy in this deck, which is way too many like I mentioned. As far as attackers go, there's not any that really discard your energy when attacking, so it doesn't really make that much sense to include that many energy cards in this deck. But there you have it, another very good theme deck, and if you're looking for a competitive theme deck out there, definitely go for one of the 2 Ultra Prism theme decks. Like I said, Lucario and Garchomp paired together, very powerful. Lucario's ability allowing you to get any card you want from your deck each and every turn if you have Garchomp in play, and then Garchomp, when used with Cynthia, can do 200 damage per turn. So that's really it for the review portion. Like I said, this is a great theme deck overall. I would highly recommend it. As far as the giveaway goes, now my giveaways are open to everyone worldwide. All you have to do to be eligible for this giveaway is you have to subscribe to my YouTube channel, like this video, and then comment in the comment section of this video with which Pokemon you like most, Garchomp or Empoleon. I know in my February giveaway I asked which theme deck you like most. That answer may correlate to this answer, but me personally, I like Empoleon more, not only as an attacker in the Ultra Prism set, but I've always liked water-type Pokemon more. Now at the end of March, I will be using a random number generator on the comment section of this video to randomly select a winner of this theme deck. And I will be private messaging the winner of the theme deck at the end of March. So there you have it. Good luck to everyone who enters. Again, if you're not exactly sure of the giveaway rules, make sure to check out the description of this video. So there you have it. Thanks everyone for watching, and stay tuned for more videos. Thank you.